Kia ora whānau. Let me get used to the technology. It seems to be my role these days to talk last at the conference, and I really want to thank you for your patience, and I can tell that you've all been waiting to hear from me about kākahi, our favourite freshwater invertebrate, right? Oh, and I just want to mihi to Amber McEwen, who kicked off this work, so I've stolen it off her. She initiated this project 10 years ago with a bit of help from me, but she's taken a back step, and good on her for doing that, because it saves her family and her mental health. Oh, how do I go backwards? That's forwards. Which other arrow? All right, and that's it. Cool. Right. Who's doing that? What a disaster. Oh. Can someone come and drive this for me? There we go. Right. I hail from Whanganui-a-Tara. My hapū is a little hapū in Petone, Ngāti Kahungunu, part of Tiatiawa. And I want to talk about this project that I'm doing for our neighbours. Not our neighbours at Ngāti Toa, because, you know, this is our neighbours Rangitāne and Kahungunu ki Wairarapa, who we get on really well with. This project is a collaboration between regional councils, DOC, and our supporting iwi. And it's not often easy to get these people in the same room and have them talk nice, but they do that for this project. We're talking about, of course, kākahi. There's 3 species, and we know that because I did the genetic work back in 2005 to find that we have 3 species here. One actually lives just up the road in Onikaka, close to Nelson. The other 2 have this weird distribution. They're all over the North Island, and Ikaridella aucklandica appears in Lake Waihoki, way down south in Fiordland. They're a filter feeder. Oh, gosh. Come on. They're a filter feeder, so they have a really important role to play in lake ecology. You can see here, water and sediment goes in here, poo and sediment goes out here, and the sediment is not processed, it's not eaten, it's bound up in a mucus so it sticks to the bottom of the lake. And that's a good thing, right? It's just we need way more numbers. Along with all the other threats that kākahi have, just like all our other freshwater taonga, we've got climate change on the scope. For marine animals, and I do a bit of marine stuff, so I know this, marine animals can shift, right? We already know that there's a southerly drift of animals, particularly fish, who can just get up and move. Kākahi cannot get up and move, okay? So it's up to us to do things for them. And to, you know, I thought Ricky's talk was really prophetic for this talk, because look at what we're doing to our roto and awa, and wonder why these things are declining. Particularly important for kākahi, of course, is the relationship to bullies and to our whitebait species and to tuna. So their babies latch on to these things when they're very young and get a ride upstream, or at least away from the adults, so they don't get eaten and they don't have to compete with them for food. So it's a double barrel thing, you know. They've got all this pollution, they've got all this nutrient input, and they've got climate change to come. And those fish hosts are just so important that I can't stress enough how much that relationship is vital to their survival. There is no alternative. They've evolved this way over millions of years. We believe that they're a Gondwanan animal, so they've come out for a heke. The survey sites that I'm talking about are in the wonderful Lake Wairarapa, or Wairarapa Moana. This is a Ramsar level wetland. And you can see we monitor 2 sites biannually. So we go in and make a really simple measurement. And we recruit people by email, by Facebook, and by peer pressure. My daughter came to the first 2 kākahi counts that I went to. I was there for the initial one. And now I have to bribe her. And it cost me quite a lot of beer. She's an apprentice builder, not really interested in the lake at all, but she does have whakapapa to it. So there's some key roles in these sort of things, right? You need somebody to recruit the volunteers. You need somebody to run the survey days. You need a marine ecologist or a freshwater ecologist to analyse the data. And it's helpful to publish the results so that whānau far and wide can do the same thing, right? And make it comparable. And our approach was to have a really simple measurement. So all we're measuring is the total length, and we're looking at the erosion, the shell erosion, to try and tell what sort of shape the population is in. You might think that that's a very simple job and that the data is only so useful. It actually is really useful. So we have 11 sites, 11 zones in our sites. They're 50 metres along the beach and as far out as people are prepared to wade. They collect for 30 minutes or until they find 50 in a pair. And then we measure the kākahi and we can produce a graph like this. Any statisticians in the room? Excellent. This graph might look complicated. It's not. It's just a combination of a histogram and a box and whisker plot. And what it shows is the number of kākahi that we've measured. So for this particular site, over the 10 years that this has been running, we've measured 1,500 kākahi. At our other site, we've also measured 1,500 kākahi. It's really spooky how those numbers fell out. And what can we tell? Well, the first thing you realise is that there's 30 people in this picture. Some of them are our moko, our kids, and some of them stop me in the supermarket, because this is just up the road from where I live, and want to talk about kākahi all day long, which is very gratifying for somebody like me who I feel like I've inspired them to do something. I feel like they have taken ownership of this particular place that they might not have been to if it wasn't for this survey. I also feel like we've given them some knowledge to make some decisions, and that's the important thing for Kahungunu and Rangitāne. This is driven by them, by iwi, and there are some major things that they need to think about, because the data is showing that kākahi in Lake Wairarapa are not growing, or they're growing very, very slowly. The median length over time has not varied at all. It's varied by about 2 mils, maybe, which could be to do with just the variability in how we're measuring them. So the other thing that we have done is we decided to translocate up to Zealandia in Wellington, the nature reserve that has the lakes. We decided to transfer some kākahi up there and to do some similar monitoring. We found they were growing initially at 5 millimetres per year. Pretty amazing. But it also created some other issues. We've had to relocate some toitoi into there because they didn't have a fish host. Zealandia did a great job of killing all the fish in the lake to make it nice and clean and ready to go. So it's allowed us to make these decisions, right? Because without the information, you're really doing it blind, and you can do more harm than good. We also now know that Aucklandica is a host specific and needs smelt in the system to breed, which is creating some other problems because smelt can be quite voracious, and we don't want them going in and out-competing the other native fish that we have up there. But it is ongoing. And long term, we want those kids that were in that picture to pick this study up when I'm gone or when others have gone. And I want to mihi to, Vanessa knows I'm going to say this, to Teresa Aparo, who was the iwi champion for our project. And you need champions, right? You need people who are going to do the hard mahi, the workarounds, the ringing up, hey, we're having the kākahi count this weekend, can you make it? Without those champions, and they can be iwi or not iwi, but it's better if they are iwi, I think. Without those champions, none of this would fly, and we wouldn't be able to do half of the things that we do. 10 years is up next year, so we are looking at redesigning the project. We might work with Ngāti Toa on some other stuff. There's some nice lakes south of Wellington that have kākahi in them, but we're worried that they may be affected by climate change and saltwater ingress. So we're refugeeing them into Zealandia, essentially. Does that make sense? Kia ora whānau, that's all I've got. Oh. I will say that my talk's available to anybody who wants it, but you can also see that stuff on the Wairarapa Moana webpage, the Wairarapa Moana Wetland Project, which is not the Wairarapa Moana Wetland Trust, which is another thing way up the country.